this is something you can listen to on your way to work. This is something you can listen to as one thing. That wasn't like an intention of mine, but it just happens to be what it is. There's no point putting out work if you don't think it's your best.
While we're broadcasting this interview, the album will be out. That's on the 15th of October that we broadcast it. But now we're in a strange moment because the album is like 2 weeks away. How are the nerves? How do those pre-album release weeks feel?
To be honest with you, I think that if I was sat at home, like thinking about it, I'd be worried about loads of stuff. But honestly, every day I have so much to do. So, you know, I'm never really thinking about it.
I've had the privilege to already listen to it. And let me start off by saying I love it.
Thank you, man.
And I love the fact that in the 1975 universe, there's one thing you can always count on. And that's that the opening track being called the 1975. On the first 3 albums, the lyrics were always the same, but the aesthetic was different for every album. The last one on Notes, it was the Greta Thunberg speech to mark the importance of the climate crisis. But with this one, it's completely different. To me, it has like a coming of age feel to it, like the opening of a new chapter for the band. How would you describe the chapter the band is in right now?
Well, that's interesting. You're right. I think the 1975 as being the opening track to every album has now become purely abstract. Like you said, it was 3 versions of the same music. And then once we'd done that 3 times, it was like, well, let's change the voice. By this point, we were like, well, now we either drop it or we never stop doing it. So we were like, I think we have to commit to it. But what it used to be was like a video. It came from video games. So, you know, with a Mega Drive or a PlayStation, you turn it on and it goes Sega, or it checks in and then it checks in and then starts the game. We realized that it's become abstract enough to just be like this status update. And I think what the 1975 does as a song, it sets up where I am, like what I can see around me politically and socially and culturally, like the place that I feel that I'm in. This is where I am. And then the album kind of goes, like most albums, like of our albums, but in a different way, goes into me and sees me living through this kind of world that I've just painted.
It's like an introduction to what the album will sound like, and it's like what you said, a recognizable thing for all the fans, because if you're there from the debut, you will always know, okay, it feels like home because the opening is the 1975 and it will be a new ride. It will be different, but still the fundamentals are the same guys, the same album. And I say that the same guys, but that's not completely true in this case, because on the new album, Being Funny in a Foreign Language, you worked very closely with producer Jack Antonoff. Obviously, you and George have produced all the previous albums together and approached this album the same way, I can imagine, before Jack joined it. But my big question is, were there any songs that were there already that changed when Jack became part of the project?
Yeah. Like the songs and the way that we did them changed. I mean, the songs were written, so all the songs that were recorded were already written, but they were definitely in different stylistic kind of places. And me and Jack and George have become such good friends. And, you know, I just think the best people are the people with like the least ego or the least fear to be like, you know, like when you win awards or you think it's easy to think like I'm amazing, but I don't think that I'm particularly better at this than anybody else. Like, I'm just good at the 1975. So with Notes in a Conditional Form, and I'd had my head in like electronic kind of ambient melodic music that I think me and George did better than anybody at that time. But when I was talking to Jack, I was like, well, kind of what you've been doing is very different. So let's just do it. Let's just all play our part. Do you know what I mean? And just make these songs sound really congruent and really, really cohesive. And Jack was like, well, you're a fucking band. Just be a band. And I was like, oh yeah.
And for me, Matty, you're one of the most talented songwriters of our generation. And I was wondering, in terms of songwriting, when do you know a song is finished? And when do you sit back and listen to the lyrics and say, yeah, this is it?
Wow, that's such a lovely compliment. Thank you. I don't know whether I would accept that. That's very kind. So I don't. This is the thing. What happens, what very seldom happens is I write a line that is a full line and then take it out. It might not get used because a better line comes in, but I try not to like edit myself too much. because my advice is trust your instinct. Sometimes I just write these lines and they make me laugh. I kind of know what they're about.
Yeah.
But they're a bit abstract and they're a bit strange. And I think, why have I said that? Where's that come from? But I could sit there and think for 4 hours, where's that come from? And then go, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't say that, or maybe I'll change it. But that's not the way to do it. Making music sometimes is like going to therapy, like good therapy, because you go into therapy and you go, this is how so you write a song, you go to therapy, you go, this is how I feel, this is what it means, and this is what it's about. Yeah. And the therapist goes, are you sure it doesn't mean this? Are you sure it's not about maybe that? And then you go, oh my God, it is about that. That's happened with me with songs so many times.
Yeah, there's always a deeper meaning. You can just say the things because you feel it that way, but then someone will interpret it totally different, and you think that brings the truth to it,
Exactly. It's not even an interpretation, it's an articulation sometimes. That's why language is so rewarding, because when someone gets it perfect, it's like, that's the feeling, you know? Yeah. That's what you just said is the feeling.
And talking about lyrics, what's your favorite lyric, or what's the lyric you're most proud of on being funny on a foreign language?
I think I like the men like I like my coffee line, probably.
Yeah, in Part of the Band. Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, I think that's probably my favorite. Yeah. I'll probably admit that. It's only because that's the one that makes me like, I'm so close to the line of like making you roll your eyes, but it's just funny enough that you don't.
I like my men like I like my coffee, full of soy milk and so sweet it won't offend anybody. Wow.
The thing with albums, I think the setting is really important. One of my most vivid music-related memories is when I did a nighttime show here on this radio station. I just had my driver's license, and on the way back from the studio, I always listened to I Like It When You Sleep. It was a perfect setting for it. Lonely Dark Roads, songs like Somebody Else and Please Be Naked. So my question is, for the new album, what do you think is the ultimate setting to listen to it?
What's great about the universality of it is that, like, for me, like, Notes in a Conditional Form was very like the metropolis. So you'll have your own thing, but that was very much on trains, people passing me, London, central New York, like environments where you are in one place and there's nothing you can really do about it. But, you know, a good window, a good train journey is always my favorite kind of place. But it's also a record that you can listen to. Like Notes was a bit like a book that you have to have a bookmark and you go through it and you put it down and you know, you're going to finish it later. This is something you can listen to on your way to work. This is something you can listen to as one thing. That wasn't like an intention of mine, but it just happens to be what it is.
In another interview, you explained how in COVID times you were kind of jamming, just hanging out with friends and making music without a real purpose. So my question is, what was the turning point? When did you decide, okay, but now we're making an album again? It's not just jamming, now we're making an album.
Well, I don't really know. I think that every 2 years we've made an album, right? So I think we just feel it coming. And we make music for fun. I keep saying the same thing, but like it's like keeping a journal. You know, most people want to keep a journal, and they start it when they're an adult, but they don't actually do it. You'll find with most people that do keep a journal as an adult, they've been doing it since they were like 12, 13, and they're like, I don't know why I do it.
It just happens.
It just happens. It's a ceremony. If I don't do it, I feel weird. Yeah. So that's what I'm like, and that's what we're like with music. So the music just builds up. It happens regardless of whether there's an incoming album or whatever. So when we get to making an album, we'll look at it and go, okay, well, what is this telling us what this album should be, you know?
And with you entering a new era with almost a new sound, I would say. How do you listen to your previous work now that you're finished with being funny in a foreign language? Does it sound different to you if you listen to like I Like It When You Sleep, the debut?
It sounds very clean.
I do agree.
Very like sharp, very clean. I mean, like there's some things where I was really going for that, like Love Me. I wanted it to be like, because Love Me still sounds. The production on that track is, as a piece of like guitar music, like it is really good. Like it sounds great. But I think that because we've been this hybrid of a band and also kind of like electronic ambient music producers, sometimes that crossover has meant that the humanity has been in the lyrics and the vocals a bit more than the mistakes in the music and stuff like that. Whereas this album is full of like mistakes, human presence, whereas The last records are a bit more polished musically.
Yeah, and lyrically it made it you and maybe a bit more human with a bit more mistakes, but the music was really clean.
Yeah, there was me being like, I'm not going to change that. I'm just going to say it. I said it. I did it.
Yeah,
it happened. Move on.
Yeah, but now the rest of the band can also be a bit more. Yeah, maybe playish.
Oh, but dude, I tell you what, it's hard to be loose.
Yeah,
it's hard to be. That's the hardest thing to be.
Yeah,
to be so tight that you can be loose is hard.
Yeah, that's why I really liked the guitar solos from Adam on a few songs. It was like, okay, man, this is nice. It feels really like he was in the moment doing that and had a lot of fun doing it.
What, like in Happiness?
Yeah, in Happiness it's great. Yeah.
That's actually me. But
is that you?
That's me. Yeah.
Oh man, I just wanted to compliment Adam. That's a pity, man.
No, Adam is an absolute monster. It's just that happened to be me. But most of the cool guitar stuff on the record is hand playing. Yeah.
Are there any songs on this album that you will predict turn into fan favorites, and then not the singles, because they are already fan favorites. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Looking for Somebody to Love and When We Are Together, and About You. I think all three of them will be like. People will love them. There's no point putting out work if you don't think it's your best.
Yeah, I do agree. Yeah, it's your best album. That's it. And Notes was also your best album when it came out, and now being funny in foreign language.
Yeah, and it's not. They're not in competition with each other. Like, best is obviously subjective and kind of can change. And like, it is the best record for now. Yeah. It wouldn't be our best third record.
No.
Brief Inquiry was the right record to make then, but if you don't think what you're doing is you at your best, then just wait till you are.
Yeah, then you should not make an album. All your work should be your best work. I get that. Matty, it was a privilege and a real honor to speak to you. I've been a fan for years. I love the music, played a lot on the radio, and it's great to just talk to you and talk about music. And I love the album. Can't wait for everybody to listen to it, and can't wait to play a lot of songs of it.
Thanks so much, man. Well, I really appreciate your support and you being a fan, and I hope I'll get to see you when we're in town.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, in an earlier interview, you said you were coming to the Netherlands, so we're still waiting for that date, but that will happen very soon, I can imagine.
Yeah,